Hi guys, welcome back. I'm very excited. Today we are doing lesson 100 of our book, Algebraic Addition of Integers. So I hope you guys are excited. I hope you have your textbooks and your paper and your pencil and you're ready because this is a very important lesson. We are going to be doing some work with integers. Remember, those are whole numbers, whether positive or negative. So we will be looking at some negative numbers today. So you really need to pay attention because this will carry on into all of your next levels of math. So this will be very important as you continue to grow in your math skills. So as per usual, we will start with our mental math. So make sure you have your textbook and that you're on page 517. And then just follow along as I read the questions and you can say the answers out loud. You can write them down, whatever you want. Just make sure you're participating and that you're following along. All right, so let's start with letter A on page 517. 50 times 80. What is 50 times 80? The answer is 4,000. All right, so good job on that one. Letter B, 380 plus 550. What is 380 plus 550? The answer is 930. All right. Letter C, 50% of 100. 50% of 100. The answer is 50. Letter D says $40 minus $21.89. What is $40 minus $21.89? All right, the answer is $18.11. $18.11. Always remember, I say this every lesson, that you're welcome to just pause the video if you need more time to work those out. Letter E, 8/10 or 0.8 times 100. What is 8/10 or 0.8 times 100? The answer is 80. That's another one where we're just moving our decimal place. Letter F is 750 divided by 25. What is 750 divided by 25? The answer to that is 30. Then letter G, how many pints are in 2 quarts? How many pints do we have in 2 quarts? The answer is 4 pints. And finally, letter H, our favorite calculation. So follow along. We have 5 plus 5 times 10 minus 1 divided by 9 plus 1 divided by 3 times 7 plus 2 divided by 2. So hopefully you were able to follow along, and the answer is 15. So great job on that. I hope you're feeling warmed up and ready for some math. So what I have here on this next screen is just a simple number line drawn out and then a thermometer to the side. And this is how we're going to start talking about addition with integers. So the dots on this number line, we have the integers from -10 all the way here on the left to +10, and then you'll see 0 here in the middle. So that's our number line that we're looking at. Then when you also have a thermometer, you'll often have the same thing. So we have a 0 mark, we have all of our positive numbers above, and all of our negative numbers below. Because remember, when we're talking about temperature, sometimes we have negative temperatures. We could say, oh, it's 48 degrees out today, or it could be -10 degrees out. So when we're talking about temperatures and we say the temperature, sometimes instead of just saying 30 degrees, we'll say a positive 30 degrees with that little plus sign there. And that's in order to differentiate. If the temperature rises 5 more degrees, we would say +5 degrees. Or if it falls 5 degrees, that's when we'd start seeing some negative symbols. So we have our temperature. If it rises 5 degrees, our temperature would be 35 degrees. If it fell 5 degrees, our temperature would be 25 degrees. So that's just some simple addition with integers. So I think that's pretty good so far, but let's look over here at this thermometer, and let's imagine that right now the temperature And let's even use red for a thermometer. This was maybe not a good idea because I don't even know if this has red. We'll use pink. Good enough. All right, let's say that the temperature is at 0 degrees. And then it falls 5 degrees. So it's about in between here. We lost 5 degrees. And then we lose 5 more degrees. So what's our temperature at? If we were at 0, we lost 5 degrees, and then we lost 5 more degrees. I'm going to switch back to this color. All right, after all of that, our resulting temperature would be 10 degrees below 0 or negative 10 degrees. So when we add two negative numbers, we had -5 and -5. When we add two negative numbers, the sum is also going to be negative. So a -5 degree temperature plus another -5 degree temperature results in a -10 degrees. All right, so a negative plus a negative results in a negative number. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Now we're going to have a different situation. We're going to start with a temperature of 0 degrees. And first, the temperature, so we're at 0. I'm just going to keep it with this black colored ink. We're at 0 degrees. The temperature falls 5 degrees. So we're losing 5 degrees. Now we're here. And then the temperature raises 5 degrees. So we lost 5 degrees, then we gained 5 degrees again. So our resulting temperature now is at 0 degrees again. So we had -5 plus +5 equals 0. So really the lesson here is that when we add opposites, the sum is 0. And opposite just means the same integer, just with the opposite sign. So if it's negative, the opposite would be positive, but the integer or the whole number is the same. So if you wanted to write that somewhere, when we add opposites, the sum is 0, and I'll write it here. When we add opposites, the sum is 0. Okay, take a second to write that down. And if you want me to write down what I said on the other page, when we add two negatives, the sum is negative. I'll write that up here just so we can stay on the same page. When we add two negatives, the sum is negative. All right, great job. So we've got those two facts so far. So this is negative numbers in general, that first fact. The second fact means opposite. So we could say positive 100 plus, what would the opposite be? Negative 100. Their sum would be 0. All right, and we've got one more example we're going to look at. So let's say we start at 0 degrees, and I already have my line marked there. If the temperature first raises 5 degrees, actually maybe I'll say 10 degrees so it's easier to see the mark. So my temperature is rises, wow, I cannot speak. Our temperature rises 10 degrees. And then let's say that our temperature falls 20 degrees. So we're at 10 and we are going to fall 20 degrees down. So my new mark is going to be here. We were at 0. It raised 10 degrees. It rose. Why can't I speak today? I'm really sorry for you listening. And then it fell 20 degrees. So our resulting temperature is going to be -10. So let's say we started with a positive 10. Then we lost 20 degrees and our resulting temperature was a -10. So the sum is less than 0 because the temperature fell more than it rose. The sum is less than 0 because the temperature fell more than it rose. And you can sort of visualize these things really well on the number line. So that's one of the reasons when you first start doing your algebraic addition with integers, I always recommend, even in higher level math, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, I always refer to this. I say just either visualize or actually draw a number line when you're doing these sorts of problems because it will be a lot easier. So if I said positive 10 minus 20, so remember when you subtract, you go this way. So if I said positive 10 minus 20, you would know that your answer would be a negative number if you visualized the number line in your mind. So that's one thing to consider as we go through this. And for our first few problems, I have a number line for us to look at. So if you want to draw one at the top of your homework page, or definitely for your practice set, I recommend drawing a number line. So I don't have a little sentence to write down here because we're going to look at a lot of different situations when we have one positive and one negative number. All right, so just keep listening. We're going to start looking at a couple different examples. So you see here that we have these number lines on the screen for you. So let's look at our examples. Our first one is add positive 8 plus negative 5. So on your number line, you would start at positive 8, and you're adding a negative 5. So since we're adding a negative 5, negative means we're going to be going this way. We're going to be going to the left. So we're going to go to the left 5 digits or 5 numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you see where we end up. So positive 8 plus negative 5 results in positive 3. And since we're not talking about temperature or like a loss of yardage or anything, we're just going to write it without the symbol. We're just going to say 3. Okay, so use your number line to help you here. Our second example, add positive 5 plus negative 3. So you can put a mark at the first digit, the first integer they tell you, which is positive 5. And then they say we're adding negative 3. So we're adding a negative, which means we're moving to the left 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3. So what's our result? Positive 2 or 2. And actually, if you're looking at your book, there's another example here that I didn't write down. So let's do that one as well. So I am just going to erase this. And we're going to do another example from your book that might be a little bit more complex. We're going to start at negative 5 and then add negative 3 and see what our result is going to be. So first put a mark at the first integer they give you. The first integer is negative 5. And we're adding negative 3. So we're adding a negative number. We're going to the left 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3. So this one follows our first rule. That was when we add two negative numbers, the sum is a negative number. So we started at negative 5, we went to the left 3 spaces, and we ended at negative 8. So that's another example of adding integers. Okay, we're going to keep moving forward to example 3. Add negative 6 plus positive 6. So we're adding negative 6, or we're at negative 6 rather, and we're adding a positive. Since we're adding a positive number, we're going to be moving to the right now. And we're moving 6 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so negative 6 plus positive 6 results in 0. And that's the second rule we learned there. When you add opposites, the sum is 0. Opposites are the same integer with opposite signs. So we had one negative 6 and a positive 6. The solution was 0. Okay. Hopefully you guys are doing well in understanding this. So let's look at another example. Example 4 I really like because they started putting the positive and negative numbers in parentheses. That sort of makes the problems a lot easier to look at, easier to understand what symbol goes with it, because when you have all these positive next to each other, or once we start getting to seeing negatives next to each other, it can get a little confusing. So it's nice to write your integers with parentheses around them so you understand the signs a little better. So this is really the same problem, but they're showing it to us with parentheses just to show us how it works. All right, and remember these are called opposites. So any pair of opposites would be the same digit with opposite signs, negative 2 and positive positive 2. Negative 84, positive 84. Whatever the numbers may be, you just have to make sure one's negative and one's positive, and that you have the same digit. Okay, so let's move on to identifying some opposites. Example 5, find the opposite of each number. So what would the opposite be of negative 7? Well, it would simply be positive 7. So you change your sign, but you keep the digit. What's the opposite of 10? Well, if we don't have a sign written here, it's understood as positive. So the opposite would be negative 10. All right, the opposite would be negative 10. Okay, so using opposites allows us to change any subtraction problem into an addition problem. Okay, so we're going to look at a subtraction problem and change it into an addition problem, which is what I have started here for us. And that can sometimes make it easier once things get a little confusing, and you'll see what I mean in the next example. Okay, so when you're changing from subtraction to addition, this is what will change. So you might want to write down this little formula, if you will. So changing from subtraction to addition. So instead of a minuend, we have an addend. Remember these terms. We change from a minus sign to a plus sign. And then for your subtrahend, what you have to do is you have to change the sign of the subtrahend. That means if it's positive, make it negative. If it's negative, make it positive. So that becomes the opposite of the subtrahend. And then instead of difference, remember the solution to an addition problem is the sum. So let's do an example of that. We have 10 minus 6. 10 minus 6. So this is just an example to show you. Obviously, we can do 10 minus 6. That's not a very difficult problem. But this is just to show you how this formula works. So notice here it says minuend becomes addend. So minuend becomes addend. The minus sign becomes a plus sign. And then for our subtrahend, we're going to turn it into the opposite of the subtrahend. So what would the opposite of 6 be? It would be negative 6. And the solution to both of these problems would be the same. 10 minus 6 is 4. 10 plus negative 6 would be 4. I almost made that look like an equal sign there. Just think, visualize on the number line. We're at positive 10 and we're subtracting, or we're adding a positive 6. It means I'm going to the left 6 spaces. I should have counted those out. Oh, that was 6. Amazing. Okay, that was just a really dreary example. So your minuend turns into your first addend, so you don't have to change the first number. You change your sign, and then you do the opposite of your subtrahend, excuse me. So let's do a couple examples of that. First, we have example 6. We have negative 10 minus negative 6. So this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes it gets a little messy. We have all these minus signs or negative signs. All of that in there gets a little icky, so we're going to change it. So your minuend becomes your addend. We don't have to change anything there. Your minus sign will become a plus sign. And then we change our subtrahend to its opposite. What is the opposite of negative 6? It is positive 6. And if you want to use parentheses for these, that's great, whatever helps you. So now, negative 10 minus negative 6, which is a little messy, becomes negative 10 plus positive 6, which is a lot nicer to look at. So if you wanted to use a number line for this, we have negative 10. So you imagine, I'm going to draw it out, but I want you to imagine this in your mind. Imagine that you have a number line and you're at the number negative 10. If you're adding 6, it means you're moving to the right 6 spaces. What number do you end up at? If you're moving positive 6 spaces, you would be at negative 4, okay? So if you're having a hard time visualizing that, please draw a number line. It will help you immensely. Okay, our second example here, negative 3 minus positive 5. So let's change this into an addition problem. So negative 3 will remain the same. Our minus sign turns into a plus sign. I'll keep these in parentheses. And then our subtrahend becomes its opposite. So the opposite of positive 5 is negative 5. So now we have negative 3 plus negative 5. If you're telling yourself, Miss O, this is the exact same in my head, this kind of problem is the exact same in my head, just do it the first way then. But if you like to see the addition sign there, if that makes it easier for you, then please make these changes, especially with problems in like example 6. Anyway, I digress. So negative 3 plus negative 5, picture your number line. You're at negative 3. Now we're adding a negative number. Are we going to the left or to the right? Because it's negative, we're moving to the left. So go to the left 5 spaces. And what do you end up at? Negative 8. Okay? So I hope that makes sense to you. Draw your number lines. Change your subtraction problems to addition problems. And let's start our practice set. So the practice set starts all the way on page 521, but hopefully you are following along with those examples and you're already here. And look at how much practice we get. So I really hope you guys understand this because we are going to go through all of these. So hopefully that helps. So please take a minute. I'll actually, I'll do a couple of these with you. I wish I could ask you. Let's look at letter L first, all the way to letter L. It says negative 3 minus negative 4. It's really messy. So first of all, I'm going to put my integers in parentheses to help us out. So solve each subtraction problem using algebraic addition. That means change this to addition. So remember, negative 3 stays the same. Subtraction turns into addition. And this integer becomes its opposite. So what's the opposite of negative 4? It's positive 4. And if at this point, because it's positive, you just want to write 4, that's fine as well. So what is negative 3 plus 4? Picture that number line in your head. You're at negative 3. You're adding 4, so you're moving to the right on your number line. So negative 3 plus 4 would bring us to positive 1, or just 1, okay? So that's letter L, for example, and then I'll just do letter A as well, just to kickstart everything. Negative 3 plus positive 4. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. This is the same exact problem. I promise I didn't do that on purpose. That's kind of funny. That's so funny. Okay, maybe we'll do letter B since I just did the same problem twice. Negative 3 plus negative 4. That's more like it. So this is letter B. Negative 3 plus negative 4. So picture your number line or draw it. You're at negative 3 and you're adding a negative. So because you're adding a negative, it means we're moving to the left 4 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4. What integer are we at now? If we were at negative 3 when we moved to the left, we're at negative 7. Okay? So with that knowledge, please get started on your practice set and just pause the video. And I'm just going to start going over the answers. So when you come back, we'll be going over the answers. Actually, if you did pause the video, I'm going to take a drink of water first. Okay. Much better now that we're almost done. So we did A and B. Let's do C. C is negative 3 plus positive 3. And you should have gotten 0 for that. So when you add opposites, your sum is 0. Letter D is positive 1. That problem should have looked very familiar. Letter E, negative 1. And if you guys are having any trouble with these, please leave a comment on this lesson. So this is lesson 100. Leave a comment in lesson 100 and let me know. Letter F, the solution is positive 5. Letter G is negative 15. Letter H is negative 5. Letter I, what is the opposite? It would be positive 8. Letter J, the opposite would be negative 4. Letter K, the opposite of 0 is just 0 because you can't make a positive 0 and a negative 0. It's just 0. L we did together. Letter M, so all of these you should have changed to addition problems. So letter M, you would have gotten -6. Letter N is +9. And letter O is +2. All right, great job on these. You see your homework here on the top right of your screen. That starts on page 521. So 3 through 7, 10, 12 through 18, 25, and then 27 through 29. Make sure you write these down because this is more than just the problem with asterisks. So I hope you guys enjoyed that lesson. I hope you're enjoying your online learning. I know it's different, but it can be exciting. So I hope everything's going well. Don't forget to let me know if you need anything. And also, please don't forget to upload your homework. All right. So I love you guys and I miss you and I'm keeping you in my prayers and I hope you're keeping me in yours. And I will talk to you guys soon.